What you are about to hear is highly classified.
And welcome back to The Zone, everybody. Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzogoose, back with you with another Marvel Now review. A little behind, but I'm going to try to catch up a little bit. This time with All New X-Men number 7. Of course, written by Brian Michael Bendis, with art by David Marquez, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. And when we left off last issue, there was a character that saw young Cyclops on the news and wanted to go seek him out, and of course that was Mystique. So this issue opens up with young Scott in his X-Men uniform and everything, going into a bank and opening up a safety deposit box that apparently he's had since he was a kid. And everybody's all crazy. Oh my God, you look so much younger. You look so much older on TV. And what are you doing here? And yada yada yada. So he opens up the safety deposit box, and he's got the ruby glasses and some passports and money, and he finds an invitation of sorts, which comes into play later. And this issue's been out for a little bit, so there may be some spoilers in here, but I'll try not to spoil the whole issue for you. So while he's looking through all this stuff, the tellers are talking to each other, and one of them's like, "Oh my God, it's Cyclops! I'm so nervous." And the other one's like, "He's totally a criminal. We gotta call the cops." And they get the guards and everything involved. And so when he comes out, Wolverine's right in his face, and he's like, "Are you done wasting my day?" And of course the security guards are pulling their guns, and they get him trained on there, and Wolverine pulls out his Avengers card, and he's like, "You really want to mess with me right now? Either you put the guns down or you bring back a bloody stump." Basically, it was what it amounted to. And so, of course, they let them go. But it turns out it was not Wolverine. It was Mystique. And he's like shocked, Cyclops. And, so she explains to him how she's on his side, and how she believes all the X-Men, they're not the true X-Men, that she was true to Professor Xavier because he saw the good in her and he helped her, and now she wants to help Scott, but she doesn't manipulate him or try to turn him against anything. She just kind of encourages him and then goes on her merry way, which I thought was really interesting. I kind of like that, because it wasn't classic "I'm gonna destroy everything I touch" Mystique. It was really that she cared about Xavier and she wanted to see things set right. But then she leaves Scott, but she does leave him with a lot to think about. So where do things go from here? Because she's like, you can stop yourself, and basically you have to go confront the old guy. And as she leaves, Wolverine drives up and it's like, "Did you try to rob a bank?" And, so they get in, and they're heading back to the school and everything. And while as Cyclops gets in the truck, Wolverine says, "Steal my stuff again, I cut something off." And that's that for that little exchange. Then at the end, though, Mystique meets up with somebody that's shadowed. We can't see exactly who they are, and she reveals kind of that. Well, actually, it wasn't at the end. That was like the midway point. But at the end of that scene, she kind of reveals that she does have an ulterior motive here, and of course, it is Mystique. So, yeah, she basically tells him, I just McCoy dropped a bomb on the mutant race, and I just lit the fuse. So. Her subtle suggestion. So it is classic Mystique, which is good. It's good because it adds that other element that that we weren't getting, some kind of villain interference, and now everything's gonna get twisted. So we're back at the school, and we got Kitty Pryde trying to train the young X-Men, and Iceman's resisting. She's like, "Give him 50 push-ups," and he's like, and that's a warm-up, and they're bickering back and forth, young Bobby and Kitty Pryde, and there's this funny exchange between Kitty and Jean, where Kitty's like, "Is he always like this?" And Jean's like, "Consistently. Yours?" And she's like, "It's odd though. I find mine charming." And Jean's like, "That is odd." So it's just this funny exchange between them, and she's trying to goad Iceman. She's like, calling him names and all this stuff, and he's like, "Don't call me," and then Kitty takes him down in just like one little judo thrust or something. But how it ends is very interesting. Okay, minor spoiler, because I have to spoil this because it's very integral to the end of the issue, and yeah. So if you don't want to hear the very end, just skip a couple of minutes. But all right, so as Cyclops walks up, he says nothing. Wolverine and Storm have this exchange, and Storm's like, "Thanks for not killing him," and Wolverine's like, "Whatever favor I owed you, we're even." And so Cyclops walks up to Jean Grey. Young Cyclops walks up to young Jean Grey and hands her the invitation and walks away. And she looks at it, and it's the wedding of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. And the last scene we see a close-up of Jean Grey with tears starting to come out of her eyes, and she's just shocked looking at Scott as he walks away. And it says next issue, The Avengers. And that's your review, or that's not your review, but that's what happens in the issue. Sorry, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. So yeah, that's what happens in the issue. Not a whole lot of action, but a lot of character development and a lot of story development in this issue. And of course, like I said, we get the seed planted by Mystique. We get this bombshell dropped on Jean by Scott as he walks away, and you see that he's got a lot to think about. And you see seeds of the old Scott, or the Scott that we know, and it's very interesting where things are going to go. And now with the involvement of the Avengers coming up next issue, things are just really going to get even more intense. Because you got all these elements. You got Cyclops, the old Cyclops and his group. You got Mystique. You got the young X-Men, the current X-Men. Now you get the Avengers. But it never feels like it's like just piled on. It's paced very, very well, and I continue to be impressed by Bendis's take on the X-Men. And this is another fantastic issue. The art is amazing. That close-up shot that I mentioned of Jean is just the emotion captured on that face, the even down to the coloring, the highlights of her hair, the shadows on her face. Everything about it is just spot on. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It's a very well written book. It's my favorite, definitely one of my favorite books on the shelves today, and the best X-Men book I've read in years. So a 5.5 or 5 out of 5 for me for All New X-Men number 7, part of Marvel Now. And that's going to do it for this review. Check out all the other reviews here on the Zone 4 podcast channel, and anything else we decide to start throwing at you on this channel, we'll see. And of course, check out my other reviews on Dark Avenger Inc. And coming soon, we're going to have a bunch of reviews on the Comic Related YouTube channel as well. Speaking of Comic Related, check that out daily for your news, comic reviews, podcasts, webcomics, all kinds of cool stuff. And of course, listen to the Zone 4 podcast every Friday, right on zone4podcast.com, on comicrelated.com, and on Dark Avenger Inc.'s YouTube channel on Sundays. And with that, thanks for watching.
Swinging on a little thread, shooting spider webs from his hands. On the streets of New York City, he steps out to make a stand. He's Spider-Man.
This has been a Gonzogoose production.